Yeah, we're all set. Martha, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage. Grant us the wisdom to make our every decision fair-minded and in the best interest for all our residents.
Amen.
Amen.
You're right, Goldie. The meeting for January 17th, 2012 is now called to order. Collins, Mendicino, Nyars, Villanova, Carvin.
Here. Okay, we've got a lot on the agenda tonight. I'm going to try and get us done. What's our over-under, Mr. Noto? Huh?
Are you chairing the meeting?
Yeah, I'm chairing. I might turn over. I'm going to delegate to supervisor.
10 o'clock with Villanova. We'd be out of here at 8.
I just wonder, was it better in person, or do you like me better on the big screen?
Yeah, the big screen, because then...
The big screen?
Yeah.
Well, before we...
Although when you stood for the pledge, Joe, we did see your belly button.
I also just want to kick things off by welcoming new Councilwoman Christina Collins.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. Thanks so much for all your hard work in the campaign. We're looking forward to have that hard work here in the town. And now I think we can officially declare this side the beautiful side of the town of Rye. And Billy, I'm afraid...
the less beautiful side.
The less beautiful.
The handsome side.
The handsome side.
The handsome side. Come on.
Great. Well, welcome aboard, and looking forward to working with you. Okay, so we got a packed agenda. Any comments on the minutes from December 20th? I wasn't there.
If you weren't there,
You were there. You were there on
that's right.
Skype. Yeah.
the one thing that procedurally I think will help sometimes, unless we truly need to have a specific roll call on items, I would be in favor of Hope saying all in favor and then all of us responding appropriately.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
That's a great, wonderful suggestion, especially tonight.
Is that for all
Yep.
or just tonight?
No, I think going forward, unless there's something very specific where there's a strong
big vote.
Good.
opinion that we need to have a different kind of vote.
Thank you. That's
Thank you.
good.
Wonderful. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
No, that's it. No,
Aye.
Got it. Aye.
Okay.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, terrific. Town reports?
Okay. Deposits to the supervisor from the town clerk's office for the month of December 2011, $1,301.17, and for the month of December 2010, $740.14. Deposited to the supervisor of the town of Rye for tax collections for December 2011, $2,899,985.31. Deposit to the treasurer of the village of Portchester, $8,759,421.54. Deposit to the treasurer of the village of Rybrook, $64,591.20. A total of $11,723,998.05. And
Thank you.
Bishop's going to give the call for
Thank you, Town Clerk Vestibule.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right. What you have is obviously the full year of 2011, and you'll see that our revenue came up substantially short from prior years. Big piece of that, our estimate is something close between $25,000 and $30,000, is the elimination of the Sunday night mansion parties. If you'll recall, as part of our policy review, we discussed it and eliminated that as possibly perhaps too much of a drain on the local residents.
We should probably reconsider that, yeah?
Well, I would say to you,
alcohol policy in place.
now that we have an alcohol policy in place, perhaps we want to bring that back.
No.
Bishop, I just want to make one comment and just don't tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I think that obviously the $72,000 is a very responsible number of revenue, given that the number of events for 2011 are 583 versus 848. So one thing that we also realized without having the additional 265 events was that our costs should have also come in less with regards to the staffing that had to attend to these events. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct for 2011. That will be correct for 2012. If you'll recall, we had, for the majority of 2011, we had a full seasonal staff, at least through September.
No, you're not following me.
I apologize.
We obviously had to have staff cover 848 events
Yes.
in 2010. And then we had to have staff cover, in 2011, 583 events. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you're saying that our cost is 100% the same?
No, it's not, I haven't done the analysis, but I will look at it.
That's what I'm saying, is that we had to have, although the revenue wasn't there, we had to have realized some expense mitigation as well, because we're not supporting 265 more events.
Correct.
Okay.
That should be true, and I'll put together an analysis to show you that.
Perfect, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, and would you entertain perhaps next month the resolution to reinstall the
Yes.
Sunday night
Yes.
mansion parties? Okay. Other than that, I just want to report that the alcohol policy seems to be very effective. We are seeing that some people are turned off by the cost. Recognize that if you have an alcohol party, that's literally a $300 add-on, because you have to pay $100 for the licensing fee, and then you have to basically hire a police officer for 4 hours at $50 an hour. But I think it's contributed to a lot less in terms of police calls, a lot less in terms of complaints from the residents and those kinds of things. So I think the policy itself is working.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, comments from the public. Goldie?
Okay, first I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
Christina. I just want to tell you something. I'm representing a lot of people. Please understand that, okay? I represent veterans, seniors, disabled, and those that have lost their jobs, as well as everybody calling me or stopping me in the street or wherever I go. Okay, they have big problems, and we have big problems in the village of Portchester. Portchester is approximately 2.4 square miles, and it has approximately 50% off the tax rolls between the non-profit corporates and the municipal property. Practically nothing in Portchester is being sold. The only people that are able to buy are non-profit corporates. That is no good. If you look at the sales, it's a horror story. Our taxes are killing us. Our assessments are all wrong because they do not take into consideration age, condition, and location. That's not considered, okay? And we are an antique community, all right? We have 11 group homes right now in Portchester that are off the tax rolls. There's a big problem there because in tonight's agenda, there's another one that's trying to get on and without paying taxes in Browndale Place or around that area. And then somebody else told me, oh, there's another one that's buying up a home also in Portchester that wants it off the tax rolls. That will make 13. Come on. Nobody in government is doing anything at the state level to try to say, come on, let the other communities take some of them, or there should be just a small amount in each community. But we're getting killed. We're getting murdered. Our taxes are soaring. And those people, because we are a low-income to a middle-income community, they can't pay their taxes. They're losing their houses. They're losing everything. They can't stand it. Okay? So we need help from the levels of government that control our taxes. We don't want you to be dissolved. We don't want Rye Town to be dissolved. Because if you're dissolved, what's going to happen? The villages are going to have tax assessors, and those assessors are going to cost the taxpayers even more money? Come on, we can't have that. We need you. We need you. We need to use your parks. We need to use everything that we can. But the parking fees, as I said before, are killing us, because if you don't have your job and you're struggling to pay your bills, and look at the cost of fuel today, you could flip. I mean, even in the cars, you can flip. But if you have natural gas or you have oil in your home, you're getting killed with your bills. Every firm is that you belong to is raising their costs and their prices. We can't do that. So please, we ask government, especially here, please help us get our assessments down in the village of Rochester. We can't take it, okay? Don't raise veterans, don't raise seniors who are struggling on Social Security, maybe, to keep their houses in order. They can't even keep their house up. Where are they going to go? There's no place for them to go. I mean, they're talking about affordable housing. Portchester has always had affordable housing. We've always had it in all areas of the village. We've had affordable housing until we couldn't afford it anymore, and it was sold off to other people. But please, we need help, the people. The citizens and taxpayers got to have help from government. So please, Rye Town, help us.
Thank you, Goldie.
Sorry.
No, thank you. It's you always have an impassioned plea, and we certainly appreciate that people out there are hurting, and it's a very, very difficult economy, and we understand that.
It's difficult for government, but your pay is from our taxes.
Right.
You have to remember that. So if we're taxed to death, how do we pay our bills? How do we pay anything?
Yep.
How do we keep everything going?
Yep.
We can't. Big problems.
Any other comments from the public? Okay, we'll close that session. We are very pleased to have with us tonight Dan Sarnoff from the Village of Mamaroneck, who's going to make a presentation on the Jefferson Avenue Bridge. Dan, thanks so much for coming this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. To put it succinctly, about 1 year and 51 weeks ago, I started with the Village of Mamaroneck. So I'm going for my 2 years next week. And the first thing that was dropped on my plate was get moving on the Jefferson Avenue Bridge. For those of you who don't know, the village, the town of Rye, and also the town of Mamaroneck are party to an agreement that covers the maintenance and capital cost responsibilities for bridge maintenance and replacement in the village of Mamaroneck. For the most part, the Mamaroneck River is split between the town of Rye and the town of Mamaroneck, except for the Jefferson Avenue Bridge, which is entirely within the town of Rye, which is because they moved the river back in the 1920s. There's your brief history lesson. I know I prepared a staff memorandum that I distributed to my village board for their work session meeting this evening, and Mr. Nowotnik was kind enough to forward that to this board as well, this council. And I'm not going to go in depth and cover everything in the memo. Suffice to say that Mr. Nowotnik the previous superintendent of highways, Mr. Nardi, and now the new superintendent of highways, Mr. Decresenzo, along with myself and Richard Slingerland, the village manager, and Mamaroneck have been working closely for the last 18 months on the design and engineering of the bridge replacement. We retained the firm of WSP Cells. They're a firm that has significant experience in bridge reconstruction. They've done 30 or so within the last couple of years. The biggest things for the village are that when we replace this bridge, we are going to remove the current center pier, which causes an obstruction in the Mamaroneck River. And for those of you who are not aware, the Jefferson Avenue Bridge, Jefferson Avenue, is located approximately 200 feet away from the confluence of the Mamaroneck River and the Sheldrake River, which is pretty much the most serious point of flooding that we have in the village of Mamaroneck because of poor hydraulics and hydrology in the river. When the bridge is replaced, the center pier will be removed, which will allow for better flow of the river. Plus, it's also going to be constructed to allow for future dredging of the river. That's in accordance with the requests and the direction from the Army Corps of Engineers in this bridge replacement project. The current estimate, I believe I gave it to you, is $3,422,273.90. The bridge is designed...
Excuse me.
Yes.
Where did they come up with the 90 cents?
It's a math.
Have them round it down to 3.4 million and we'll start talking.
That's unit pricing, you know how it works. Just lost me. Maybe lose my train of thought. So we're about 95 to 98% complete with the design and engineering work. We actually had a meeting with Con Ed this morning to talk about what they'll need as part of the bridge relocation. They're going to ask us to take care of relocating their utilities on both a temporary basis for the duration of the construction and then the permanent relocation when the bridge is complete. The way that will work is Con Ed will provide the funding to, I guess it would be the village and the town, to do this project, and we would just pull it in as part of the contract. So that $3.4 million does not include some utility work for which there will be no responsibility on the part of the village or the town. The one thing that I came away from this meeting this morning was that in order for Con Ed to proceed with what they need to do as far as finalizing their design and initiating their funding process, is they will need a letter of commitment from the municipalities, being the Village of Mamaroneck and the Town of Rye, indicating that we are intending to move forward with this project. We discussed that with my village board during their work session meeting earlier this evening, and they've given us that direction, and I think we're going to like to have the same sort of commitment from the Town of Rye so we can move forward with this project, which will be an important benefit for both the Village of Mamaroneck and the Town of Rye. It'll have a positive impact on flooding in the area, and the bridge is, I think, constructed in the 1930s, so it's at the end of its useful life, and it's in need of repair. So if there are any questions from either the council or the public, I'll be more than happy to answer those.
Sure. I'll go to the commission first, and then I will...
Mr. Sarnoff, do we know, I see that they're looking to get bids or receive bids in March of 2012. When is the estimated start date of this project?
We'd like to start mobilizing and have construction begin in April or May. This bridge will be, it's planned for this to take place during one construction season. The bridge will be closed to traffic, which will allow for the removal and installation of a new bridge in a more expeditious manner. So we'd like to have the bridge work begin in late spring and have it complete by December.
Okay.
That's a lot more aggressive than what we were anticipating. We haven't budgeted for this this year. Certainly this kind of expense, I know.
We have $50,000 in transfer to capital fund in this year's budget. So if we're going out for bonding, we're going to see what bond payment will be required in 2012.
Mr. Noto.
Yeah, how does that $50,000 relate to our half of $3.4 million?
probably going to go out in 30 years. You know, that's, we're going to fill.
So you think the cost is only going to be,
25K,
it won't be more than 25K?
roughly.
And then we're going to have to, take some contingency to cover the difference.
But, what's our estimated cost for this project? Annual cost? 25K, is that what you're saying?
125.
Oh, 125K. Okay, so I don't think we have 125K allocated for this, do we?
Not for 2012.
Because I thought we were expecting this to be a 2013 event, is what I recollect when we talked the budget this year.
Well,
Maybe the controller can correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that we would bond for this or vote to bond for this year sometime in the midsummer, and our first bond payment would not be due until 2013. Now, that's the way I understood this would work. Consequently, we didn't put anything in our budget at that time for 2012.
Once we borrow the funds, there'll be no bond payment for 6 months. There'll be an interest payment only.
So what's our expectation of the actual cash?
There wasn't in the 2012 budget that this was going to hit in 2012.
Right, but given the timing, that certainly surprises me in terms of it all being done in a calendar year. I don't know if that surprises staff. Okay, it does surprise staff, okay.
Yeah, we thought the construction period would be longer.
Okay, so, sorry, I apologize. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Sarnoff. Why are we being surprised? I don't understand why we're surprised. Is this a new change in the construction timetable, or I don't understand why we're surprised. I don't like to be surprised. I don't like surprises. Why are we being surprised? I mean, is this a change in the construction timetable, or?
I don't believe so. I'd have to review my file to see what we've talked about as far as construction schedules. But I think we've always talked about having, at the very least, having the design work done at this point and be able to have construction occur in 2012.
Okay.
As far as the completion of construction, we talked about having it done during one construction season because we want to make sure that disruption is as small as possible. One of the other things that is going to help us accelerate the construction schedule is that, as I described in the memo, the technology we're using is going to be something called Next Beam, which is constructed off-site under laboratory conditions. If this was a poured-in-place concrete structure, the weather would have a greater effect on the curing time for such a bridge like that, which would extend the schedule.
Does Next Beam add to the cost or reduce
Not really.
the cost?
I have to go through my notes, but I believe it was approximately the same price. Yeah. But it also will lead to a better designed bridge because the concrete structures are formed in laboratory conditions. They're not affected by weather, which means that there's no humidity that we have to account for, and because of that, they will last longer in the field.
I'll share in the supervisor's concern because I believe that Supervisor Carvin's correct. We were estimating that this was not going to take place in 2012. That's kind of what we understood, that there was a process in place and we really didn't know when it was going to hit. So we have to accept part of that.
Yeah.
Are you able to just provide or have WSP Cells provide us with a copy of the estimate? Just so we can have that for our record?
Yeah, what I can do is I have an electronic copy. I'll forward that to Mr. Nowotnik.
Great.
And he can forward that to the board.
Thank you.
I believe Mr. Decresenzo also has a copy of the plans.
It's in your report that I'm going to give.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, great. Thank you. Perfect.
And I think Mr. Decresenzo has a copy of the plans as well.
Yes.
So if you'd like to take a look at those as well.
Very good. Thank you.
What I'll also do is I'll run through
the
the...
report now, John. Might as well do the whole thing at the same time.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
How confident are we that this number is actually going to be accurate?
I tried to press them on that. They felt very comfortable in the numbers. That was the first question I asked them.
Okay.
and they said that they were confident in those numbers, and that they felt that, if anything,
Thanks, John.
pricing
I
is
want you to press
still
them out.
aggressive.
Thanks.
So,
Okay.
Thanks.
I hope for the best,
Thank you, John.
but,
How about the contract itself, Mr. Sarnoff? Do we have any protections in the contract?
in so far
Well,
as
you know,
overruns or...
Yeah.
You try to design the contract as best as possible. We will have a contingency amount in there. You can never account for field conditions. You never know what you're going to find. I've seen it too many times. But, based on everything we've seen, we hope that we don't run into those field conditions. The biggest thing that we would have to worry about would be probably running into bedrock. The borings that have been performed as part of this engineering design indicate that there's about 50 feet of soil to bedrock. So that leads me to believe that we're in a good situation, that we won't run into those types of contingencies. But you just never know.
Sure.
I'd like to give you a definite answer, but
Right.
you can't.
Mr. Noto, quick question. Ultimately, whatever we bond for is responsible to bond 10% over the estimated amount?
I think that's usually the benchmark, but I'm
Yeah.
not positive.
Okay.
You check with bond counsel on that.
Okay. Should we look to instruct you tonight to contact bond counsel?
Well, I think they'll let the finance team come up with a proposal, then we'll do it. I don't think there's any urgency to this, is there, in terms of our payment? I mean...
No. But what I would like, I think, what I need to firm up is the work with Con Ed. I don't think they care about when the bond payment is made or when it's due. But I think they would like to know that there is support from the municipalities to fund this project so that it can get done. So if you're comfortable tonight, you can do that. But if you want me, I can forward all the information on scheduling that I've prepared over the course of the last 18 months to Mr. Nowotnik for the board's edification, if that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable as far as the timing of the project.
No, that would be helpful, Mr. Sarnoff. Thank you. And who negotiates the contract? Who negotiates the contract?
Well, when we go out to bid, it'll be a public bid. It'll be lowest responsible bidder. Focusing on the lowest and the responsible. We want a company that knows how to build bridges. We don't want a fly-by-night company, but we also want to make sure that the best value is achieved for the residents of the town of Rye and the village of Mamaroneck.
So included in this bid process, are you going to have this next beam process? Is that part of the bid process? So it seems like you've already decided that that's the route you're going. And I don't think that everyone has the capability to do that.
Well, no, you would deal with, they're authorized manufacturers of the product.
Okay.
We would specify that we want the bridge to have this type of product. So they would find the vendors who make that, and they would account for that as part of their bid to the village and the town.
Because I'm just wondering if that's going to limit the number of bidders and that can bid the project.
It really shouldn't, because that would be like saying, you have to, use a Chevy. Anyone can get a Chevy. You just got to go to the dealer to get a Chevy. It's just a type of material that they're using. Any contractor who has a crane can install this. It's kind of like installing a tongue and groove wood paneling like you see on the dais up here. You basically put it down and you fit it into place. So there's nothing specific about the process of making the material that the contractor would have to worry about. They would find the person who can make the material, and they would have it procure it through them.
But it's still limiting us to the people that we can go to get the materials.
It would limit the people who produce the materials.
Correct.
It wouldn't limit the contractors who can do the work for us.
Right.
I kind of agree with Michelle in that sense that if it was a job that was going to be built, manufactured on site, the opportunity for more contractors to bid on it may benefit the cost, you know? And because once you're putting in a specific specific item, and I agree with exactly what Michelle's saying.
Well,
Once you put that item in there, then it's going to limit the contractors. May preclude them.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily the case, because the universe of contractors who have experience in bridge building is different than the universe of contractors.
Okay.
And the universe of contractors who have experience in bridge building are familiar with this material, and they know how to install the material. So I don't think we're limiting the number of contractors who would be able to participate in this in any fashion.
Okay.
Good. Now, and just, well, first of all, thanks so much for coming tonight to present to us, Mr. Sarnoff, and I thank you for having Mr. Decresenzo participate in the meetings. I presume the way we are obviously person working with you is Mr. Decresenzo going forward, as Mr. Nardi previously, now Mr. Decresenzo going forward on this project. So I just want to make sure that now we're in the live phase of the project, that we, are fully conversant with each of the project steps going forward. And you guys have made us involved. I just want to make sure when Mr. Decresenzo coming on knew that we're fully conversant. The contract, I want to make sure we're reviewing the RFP, just to make sure that we're fully conversant with each phase and step of this project, because I think, again, we'd had it on really expected it to be taking place at a later date, and I just want to make sure, obviously we have full confidence in the Village of Mamaroneck, but we just want to make sure that we're doing our homework as well.
Yeah, Mr. Nowotnik was involved in the RFP process along with Mr. Nardi. I had a meeting with our consultant, was last Friday or the week before. These Fridays just meld together after a while, but after Mr. Decresenzo was elected, he asked to have me bring him up to speed on the project.
Great.
Rather than have me bring him up to speed, I called for a meeting with our consultant from WSP Sales, and
Perfect.
We had a productive meeting, I believe. And
Great.
I hope any question he has, I'm more than happy to help him out. And I want us to be on the same page as well.
No, and I know we're working very closely on the town dissolution study, a number of projects where you always enjoy working with the Village of Mamaroneck, and you can't thank you enough for all your hard work in coming here to present today.
Are you telling people you're closing the bridge?
We're starting that process. We actually are
sign up on the bridge saying this bridge will be closed on.
I spoke with the village manager this morning about initiating that process of the communication protocol. I've already reached out to Metro North. I'm reaching out to the Hispanic Resource Center because the day labor site is adjacent to the bridge project. So we're starting to get the message out about the bridge project.
And I'm just looking at the highway report, and it does say here that David Weiss is confident about the figures, and that figure there includes the 10% contingency. So it wouldn't be 10% on top of the 3.4.
Yeah, and also, did you obtain the acquisition of the easements from the property owners?
We sent certified letters out to the two adjacent homeowners at the end of December. I know the village manager actually spoke with Mrs. Cora, who lives on the east side of the bridge this morning, and I'm going to reach out to the property owner of Pecone Sausage, which is on the west side of the bridge. So we are actively speaking to them. Our consultant is getting the appraisals, and we should have those within the next couple of days as well.
Excellent. Mr. Decresenzo, do you want to just add to we've got your report here. What can we get? Do you want to add anything to that report?
As far as the Jefferson Avenue bridge replacement project,
why don't you come right to the microphone, sir?
I've been working very closely with Mr. Sarnoff and their consulting engineer to make sure that we had the right information going forward. I know it's a big project and it's a very expensive project, and I wanted to make sure that we were informed. And I jumped right in as soon as I met with them as soon as they possibly could, and I gave you just the basics here. Mr. Sarnoff gave you a very complete report also.
Yep. No, I thank both of you for that. This is the biggest project we've ever done since we're in the town of Rye. And so I want to make sure we have all hands on deck. And as I say, fully conversant. I thank Mr. Sarnoff for making this presentation tonight. Mr. Decresenzo, why don't you give your full report? So basically, we're going to be on the hook for half the $3.4 million.
Right. But also, and just to regress a little bit, that Mr. Weiss, the consulting engineer, they built over 50 bridges in the area, and he was very, very confident in those numbers. So it made me feel a little more comfortable in knowing that even with the 10% contingency, hopefully with the way things are bidding and the economy, that there's not as many jobs out there, that we'll get a good, reliable bid and keep it as close to, if not under, the estimates.
I thought we also at one point talked about trying to get funding for this. There was some talk about the Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA.
We talked about it, but I haven't seen many funding cycles recently, and we did actually. We had received some member items from Congresswoman Lowy's office, and we asked about the potential for using that money for. The money was given to us for drainage improvements. We asked if we could use it for the bridge, and they weren't. It was an EPA grant. The EPA was not terribly enthused by that idea. I haven't seen any funding rounds of funding for any state or federal funding recently. State and federal funding, well, itself is also kind of a double-edged sword. You have to go through a much more detailed level of design and analysis and approvals from the state and federal governments. And as an example, in another municipality I worked in, they had received funding for a bridge project in 1998 and didn't start construction until 2009. And it really wasn't anything at the federal level, it was really at the state level, because at the state level, staff keeps changing and everyone goes back to page one, and it is a double-edged sword. But the opportunity to pay less than full price is something we'd like to try and take advantage of.
This bridge isn't even in Wright-Town, is it?
It is?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
It is in Wright-Town?
It's
No
entirely
way you'd be
within
paying
Wright-Town.
for it if it wasn't in Wright-Town.
Rhinebeck.
Yep.
It's in Rhinebeck.
It's in Wright-Town, okay.
Yeah, like I mentioned at the onset, the Mamaroneck River is pretty much the dividing line between the town of Rye and the town of Mamaroneck, except for this portion, because the river was moved back in the 1920s.
And the river wasn't moved to make sure. No, I'm joking.
The river was moved to straighten it out.
Exactly. Move it back. There you go. Perfect. Okay. And so the prospects for funding then are like what if this? I'm talking about shovel ready. This is certainly shovel ready.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it really, the funding, prospect for funding was actually really looked into. That's just my opinion. Did you actually really go out and...
No, I mean, we did. I mean,
Okay.
The best way of doing it is, every year, except for the last 2 years, you would get a letter from Congresswoman Lowy's office saying, what are the projects you'd like to try and get funding for? And this was included on that list. And that's usually how the money gets initiated from the federal and state levels. There was a change in Congress, and member items are no longer on the table. So it's becoming more difficult to get that type of funding. I know Mr. Nowotnik and I both attended a meeting, it was in October of last year, about the new consolidated funding application that the state prepared. And their impetus in refining the process was to identify projects that had regional benefits and regional planning goals and regional benefits. And the Jefferson Avenue Bridge, it's a nice little bridge, but it does not have a great regional impact as far as any sort of economic benefit to the community.
They were looking for job creation, and frankly, this was a short term.
Yeah.
They get a job with W Cells.
Exactly.
And the stimulus funding, that pretty much ended around 2009.
Okay.
I know some projects that were fortunate enough to get stimulus funding, and so I know what the state did at the state level. A lot of projects that they had in the hopper through their funding, I think it's the Marchicelli funding, rather than spend their money, they took the stimulus money and spent money on those projects.
Great. Well, listen, we got a big agenda tonight. Can't thank again Mr. Sarnoff for coming
thank
here
you very much,
before
Mr.
us.
President.
And also, can we make sure we're on top of this every step of the way? It's the biggest project we've had since we've been here. Mr. Decresenzo, thank you. Do you want to just finish your report then while you're up there?
If you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Thank you. I'll let you go home early if you want to.
That's okay. That's okay.
So we got Jefferson Avenue Bridge, South Barry Bridge.
The South Barry Avenue Bridge traversing Guyon Creek.
Right.
Okay. This is a project that's designed to repair some sidewalk that has eroded down to some of the, you can see the gravel and some of the support beams, not the support beams, the
Rebar?
the rebar. And it's a small section that has to be replaced on the one side of the bridge. And all the plan work has been done by Adam and Kirby. I've met with Brian Smith several times, and all the design work is done. And we reviewed it with the Village of Mamaroneck, and they had requested some modifications, which would replace some of the asphalt sidewalk that would make it a much safer to cross the bridge and where the sidewalk meets, and that is being done entirely at their expense. And Adam and Kirby's just waiting for the contracts from the village to come back so they can finish the work and prepare it for
and the cost to us is going to be $7,000 to $10,000.
$7,000 to $10,000.
Are we 50-50 on that as well?
No. That's all ours.
That bridge is only ours?
Yes.
Okay. So we have another $7,000 to $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then transversing Otter Creek.
That's South Barry. That's all the way at the end where it goes into the club.
Right, but there's no expense there?
At this point, no. It's just we are investigating and taking a look at the problem with the wing wall. There was the bridge was yellow flagged by the state inspection, so we have up to a year to put some type of plan of repair and maintenance work in motion, and then after that we have another 6 months to start and complete the job.
All right, and then the Continental Manor footbridge?
That just needs some in-house work that needs to be repaired. A couple of planks are cracked, and they have to be restained, hopefully in the springtime, and some plantings have to be done.
And these are all the bridges we're involved with?
Right now, these are the projects that we're involved with. We have other bridges, but there are no projects or problems or anything that is scheduled to be done at this point.
Right, great. Could you do me for next meeting, could you project 5 years out, what, the best you can, what you expect for these bridges that we're working on, and then the other bridges? Just I appreciate it'll be a guesstimate.
Okay.
But
I know some other things that could come down the road already.
That's what I want to get flagged as much as possible. So if you can prepare a more comprehensive report for the next board meeting.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well, welcome aboard another newly elected official.
Yes, and
Thanks
I
so much.
just wanted to take the time to thank the citizens of the town of Rye for giving me the opportunity to serve.
Thank you so much, Mr. Decresenzo. Thank you for joining us, and welcome aboard. Okay. Mr. Noto. Briefly, yes, exactly. A very brief just update on the town dissolution study.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, and Happy New Year. As most people who watch these meetings on TV should know, we are in the midst of a historic review of town, village operations. And we have a steering committee comprised of the town of Rye, the villages of Portchester, Rybrook, and Mamaroneck, which has engaged CGR, which is a firm that's done a number of these studies throughout the state of New York. They're quite impressive. They're based in Rochester, New York. And they have done what we call a baseline study, which I will hold up because it's quite voluminous. This document is online, and it is probably the most thorough and comprehensive analysis of municipal spending that we've ever had in the town of Rye, if not on the Sound Shore, because it really is very comprehensive. And it sets forth all of the spending that each municipality undertakes. It's very informative, and I think that from this study we will be able to at least evaluate some of the options that may or may not be available to the communities. One is, of course, the dissolution of the town if it pays, and it may not, Goldie, so it's not a foregone conclusion. But there are a number of areas of potential shared services that may come out of this. So what we're looking for at this point is we're looking for public input. People should engage in this process. It requires the public's input. Certainly no decision would be made without significant public education.